So we're at Moab Rim Camp Park in Moab, Utah after an amazing weekend of jeeping and spending time with family and having a great time. And one of the things we're doing is, well, a little bit of repair. Unfortunately, John broke an axle while we were out on the trail. It was on Hell's Revenge. It was a great little jump up the road, and as he went, we heard a pop, and sure enough, the axle's broken. So we spent some time at Moab Motorsports with Rory Irish, who was absolutely amazing, helped us rebuild stuff, happened to have some G2 chromoly, brand new axle shafts in stock, so we're gonna replace both of those with the, replace the old ones with these, and we've got the back section all rebuilt, and we're just gonna show you real quick how it all goes together. Enjoy this video. John, the first thing that happens is we've got to put this bad boy back in the pumpkin. Now you got a string hanging out there. What's that about?
I don't know. YouTube said we had to do it, so that plunger slides in, and it has to go on the, from your viewpoint, the left side of the magnetic E-disconnect. And so we've got a little straw back there you can't see. Here, I'll wrap it around really fast, holding it open. And then once the locker's in, we will pull that string and that will pop and close it appropriately. So YouTube Tech showed us how to do that.
So that little trick holds that out. We took a straw from a WD-40 can, we snipped it to the right length, we took a needle and thread, ran it through that straw, so it enabled us to be able to grab that after everything's all put in. We just simply give it a yank, and then it keeps that piece out. We have no idea what it does. If you know what it does, put it in the comments below and teach us, because we obviously have no idea. So we've got the differential put up in place. We're now taking these shims and putting those in place on either side of the outside edges to make sure that we don't.
So if you want, I'll hold it. If you want to, we took this yesterday.
Is this a mallet?
Well, no, so that there, and just tap it in gently with a hammer.
Okay.
So here's a hammer, here's that. I'll hold it up, and see how that one's flush on that side? Right there. And these look just like that. Oops.
Oh. And
I'll hold it for a bit. Yeah, flip it down. If I need to, I can try and pry it a bit, but if it's going in, let me know.
seems like it's going in.
Okay.
It's nice to use this because it's got a rounded edge and it allows us to adjust it around a bit. So if I need to go up a little more.
It's also not marring it from one straight contact either.
So that is in place. Next we got to do this electrical connector,
which is an 8mm. There's a rubber grommet. It's a little tricky to get off, but if you look down here, it feeds through this hole inside the axle. See it?
Yeah. So it's running from this black connector on the magnet. So show that black connector.
So this black connector here.
Yeah.
And your electronic locker is just a magnet, so that's powering the magnet.
It goes up and just plugs into that thing. If you're doing this job, it's really smart to just buy a new connector that goes in the back of that. Not the connector to the magnet, but the connector that's attaching to the axle.
All right, it's in, and then it's an 8mm bolt.
Tighter too.
All right, next we're gonna put the housing in with these. This is very important when you take it off. The verbiage and the letters have to go exactly the same and they're side specific. So this is the one we marked for the right side.
Okay.
And we're gonna put it in, and then the torque on this is 80 foot-pounds.
To secure those brackets down, you need a 19 socket, and you want to do that to 80 foot-pounds of torque. All right.
Next side, there's this little clip that goes in that I think it just stops the e-locker from moving. I don't know. That's what we're gonna.
Yeah, it stops that magnet from rotating. So you got this little clip, and see that little tooth in there stops the magnet from rotating around. You just want to hold that magnet in place because all it's doing is just using its electromagnetic force to open and close the locker, so it just needs to be held in place so it doesn't spin around as the axle's spinning.
Oh, that's what is moving it. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what torqued it. It got over torqued too fast.
There's a lot. I don't remember exactly though.
So be careful. If you are using a torque wrench, notice how that slipped down. Okay? Want to make sure that we get that metal bracket, that retainer clip, in exactly the right spot.
I'm gonna pull it out, Jeremy.
So if you make the mistake of torquing that down and watching that little bracket, that retainer clip bend, just grab some needle nose pliers and shape it back into place as best you can. And if that doesn't work, you can always use a set of opera glasses. It'll basically do the same thing.
It actually worked pretty good.
You want me to record again?
Remember, that's gonna go right in there. So if the retainer clip isn't all the way in the magnet, use a screwdriver and just kind of give it a little shove. Show them how to do it. Just kind of tug on it like that, and that should nudge it over enough to get it right into that groove. That's where you want it, right there. Make sure you don't end up over-rotating that clip. Just use your breaker bar
Or a torque
or your torque wrench,
which we don't have.
and just get it clamped on down.
This
Just
out.
grab that string and give it a yank. That should pull that out. And do what you need to do. Now you can spray it out real good. Here's your brake cleaner. Is it considered a sponsored video if you had to buy your own brake cleaner?
It is.
Okay.
O'Reilly should give you free brake cleaner for the publicity.
I think it should. So we want to make sure we get that all the gasket and junk off of the diff cover, or where the diff cover mounts, off of the Jeep. We're using a razor blade here. You want to be careful because this is aluminum. No, wait, this isn't aluminum. This is cast steel.
You said it, not me. I think.
Didn't you say he said don't use a blade?
The diff cover is aluminum.
Oh, the diff cover is aluminum. Okay. Well, so give it a good scrape. You want this to be a clean surface. Ideally, you want to be able to use like a grinder or something with a little brush on it. That would really do a good job of this. Clean it right off. But you want that surface to be nice and clean so that there's no chance of any junk getting in there and making your gaskets fail. So when you take the old axle shafts out, there's this race bearing here that needs to come out. Now most of the time you could just grab your fingers in there and pull it out. This case it's not coming out. So we're using a claw hammer very carefully. I'm putting the claw here and then I'm just putting a little bit of leverage and just to the point where I could see that pop. Okay, just moving, and I'm literally just moving it by small increments. Again, I do not want to damage the shaft at all. You can see as I go, just getting a little closer, and eventually I'll be able to pop that right out. So we're gonna put the axle back together. Now this has to go on first, okay? You wanna make sure that this little hook side is the same side as this here. So I'm gonna put this on, just like that. Just kinda smush it in place lightly. Then we're gonna lightly put this. It's better if you carry it in, don't slide it in all the way, but you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna have to slide it. Okay, now it should just go in. You know, those splines are machined specifically to be able to fit perfectly. So
it's not gonna move.
Gotta kind of position it the right way to get it in the right place. You can't see in there, so it makes it a little trickier to find the spot.
Nope, it's bigger than that. My other side's not in that either.
Oh,
The crap did Jesse get that out of there?
that went a little more. Okay. And
No.
so this right here
Yeah.
can only go one way. So I'm rotating this. Come in close so you can see this. So I'm going to rotate this because this only goes in one particular way. So I actually needed to rotate that out a little bit. So now I gotta repeat that process of getting it into those splines in the back. I'm trying to get those splines all the way in the back to fit. It's a combination of lifting this so the end pivots up and trying to find that hole on the other side.
That hole is just a grind hole. Yeah, it's not that's the function of it, I don't think.
Oh, I think I got it. So I'm gonna lift this up and get them into the screw holes. Okay. And then the tricky part is this part in here, okay, in here is now got to get inside. That's the race bearing, the same one that we took out a moment ago from the old axle. That's got to get in place, so just gonna give it a little nudge. And you want to get it close enough where you can get the threads to poke through on the other side here. If you can get those threads to poke through here, then you can put some nuts on them and be able to tighten it all up. So we're just gonna play with this a little bit.
A little bit of pressure on the
bolts.
The bolts on the inside. So literally just a couple taps. Look at that, and then it's sticking out the backside already.
Yeah, look at that.
And then once I get 2 of them on, I'll just suck it down. There we go.
Okay.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
With the bolts all sealed down, next it's time to put in the wheel speed sensor. Now this device right here tracks your speed as you're driving and make sure that everything's working right for your anti-lock brake system. It's gonna slide into that little hole right there. You wanna make sure that you orient it the right way because there's a little screw. And once you get it in place, you take that screw. Can't see where it is, there it is. You're just gonna put it in the top there. I'll hand thread it first. There we go, okay? And I'm gonna use a number 8 to tighten it down. Okay, once you get that tight enough, then just put your plug back on. All right, next we're going to put on the gasket. We're using 1 minute gasket, and this is black. Just give a nice thick bead all the way around. It's obviously gonna smear. It's probably even a little bit more than we need. We'll have to wipe off the excess, but this is great. You don't want to do too little, that's for sure. Line it up. And put 1 bolt in the top. Kind of hold it in place. Hand thread it as best you can. Get 1 down in the bottom. And then just work your way around.
I gotta leave these two for my skid plate.
So with all of the bolts on the differential sealed up, John's put his skid plate back on. Now it's time to fill with some gear oil.
It's important that you follow the gasket cure instructions from the manufacturer. And we got a 1 minute one, so we're good.
Now we're using full synthetic 75W90 gear oil. As long as you're using this weight in there, and you need to make sure you get the weight that's correct for your differential. If you have a Jeep that's like a Rubicon with lockers in the back, you're gonna need a different type of gear oil that's made for that as opposed to one that doesn't have it. So consult your manufacturing, you can look it up on internet, what type that is right for your Jeep. And put that plug back in. And it'll be easier for you to tighten yours up because John's got a little differential cover protector on here, skid plate, and it makes it harder to get in, but
there we go.
So now all that's left is to put the brakes back together, put the wheels back on, and we're done. You can watch lots of other videos on how to do that. We're not going to bother showing you that, but hopefully you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it if you think it's appropriate. And if you thought some of the tips were good, let us know. If you thought some of the tips were maybe not what you would have done, again, put in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching.